All right, I call this meeting to order of the Historic Preservation Commission. Cindy, would you like to do roll call?
Terry. Chris.
Here.
Mike.
Here?
Jim.
Here.
Cindy is here. Rochelle. Carol.
Here?
All right. Approval of the minutes from the June 23rd meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move that we approve the minutes of June 23rd,
I need your microphone on.
except the May 26th. I need to go back and say May 26th anyway. I make a motion that we approve the minutes for May 26th.
I think you were correct the first time. That was the last meeting agenda.
Am I not looking at it?
So this is what you need to approve today's agenda.
Oh, and this is the 25th.
Yeah, that was the last meeting though.
Okay.
That's the minutes we're approving today.
Okay, June 23rd?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, I make a motion, again, that we approve the minutes of June 23rd.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Cindy, roll call?
Terry. Chris.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes?
Jim.
Yes.
Cindy is a yes. Rochelle. And Carol.
Yes.
So the motion is passed. Commission vacancy, so
We actually need to do an update for the agenda due to recent events. If you wanted to amend the agenda to make sure that, since there's been an update on that, we need to get that approved as well.
have to have a motion.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to approve adding as item 4, the commission vacancy to our agenda.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Oh, you turned it off.
Talk to people that are not here. Do I need to bring them up and roll call to start asking
No,
No.
no, you
Thank
do
you.
not.
them? Chris.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Cindy is a yes. And Carol.
Yes.
All right, motion's passed. So commission vacancy.
Yes, just this morning, we received a letter of resignation for one of our commission members, Rochelle Ritter. So we will be entertaining, a vacancy. We'll have a vacancy available for that position. Currently, that opening or that vacancy will be for the remainder of that term, which would be, I think it ends at the end of this year, but it was a 2-year term. We do have 2 alternates on the commission that if they wanted to submit their letter for filling that vacancy, we can make the vacancy for a alternate position. So there is that possibility as well.
So who are our alternates?
Our alternates are Cindy and Carol.
Okay. So I guess either of you could
It's up to you.
write a letter to become
So
permanent.
we,
or-
And that could be, that letter could be approved at the next meeting.
so do we have to make this announcement for an opening for the commission or an opening for an alternate?
Usually,
commission.
that's what we would do as part of the position announcement, vacancy announcement was whether or not it's an alternate position or a two-year term.
So we could make the decision to promote somebody to a full-time
If you wanted to do
prior to
that.
that date? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if you wanted to do that at this time, if there's somebody, an alternate, I believe, that wants to do the 2-year term,
The remaining.
the
portion of
remaining,
it.
yep,
Right.
And we could approve that ourselves.
yes, I
Okay.
believe so, yep. Yep,
Would either of you
Pressure's on
like to be-
either of you to.
be
you
more
don't have to,
dominant?
we
To
can
a-
make it,
to a-
I would rather stay alternate, actually.
If Carol doesn't want to do it, I'll do it.
Okay,
That's fine.
good job.
If I can twist your arm, but otherwise.
Oh.
Okay.
So then I'd,
we would just need your interest in doing that. That term ends basically, I think, at the same time that your alternate position ends anyway.
Okay.
So at the beginning of this next year will be, you can re-up as an alternate then, or probably the full, or the 2 terms would be another possibility, so.
Do I need to submit a letter, or can I express my interest verbally today?
Probably do both.
Okay.
Do both.
I would like to express my interest in taking on the remaining term of Rochelle to the group, and I will submit a letter of interest.
so then can we approve that at this meeting, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to accept Cindy's verbal application to go from alternate to hold Rochelle's position for the remainder of her term.
Did we accept the resignation?
You need to do that too.
Yeah.
Probably should do that first.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept Rochelle's resignation as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes?
Jim?
Yes.
Cindy's a yes, and Carol?
Yes,
All right, so now I'll entertain a motion to accept Cindy's verbal application to go from alternate to take over Rochelle's position for the remainder of her term.
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes?
Jim?
Yes.
And Carol?
Yes,
All right. Motion's passed. We took 1 week or 1 month off and we're a little rusty.
See what happens?
Yeah.
Now you need to make a motion to, for applications for the opening for an alternate.
Well,
We
we'll advertise for that opening or that vacancy. We'll receive letters hopefully for, before the next meeting, and then at that time, any applicants or letters of interest, you can review and decide at that meeting.
Do we have to have a motion to ask for letters, or?
I think we're okay with that without, yeah.
All right. Agenda item number 5, subcommittee reports. We have the Historical Context and Survey Committee and the Education and Outreach Subcommittee.
So the subcommittee for the historical context and surveys have been meeting regularly Friday afternoons. We've been reviewing several resources that had been done prior surveys of Canyon City, South Canyon, Old Canyon neighborhood, and they've sort of divided up and looked at doing windshield tours of these areas just to get a general feel of some of the neighborhoods and their development. We're also reached out to the city's GIS in developing some maps that would correlate with each of these neighborhoods and figuring out what properties are within different additions, looking at the development that way. We've also had some discussions regarding Chandler houses, houses that were originally built in Chandler, the old mining town, and were moved here in mid-1940s, trying to determine where they all went. We have a running general list of some of the houses that we know of, and trying to figure out if that was all of them, or if there was some houses that were moved that didn't get on our list. We've had some subcommittee members go in, do research at the Fremont Assessor's Office, as well as the County Clerk and Recorder, doing a background search of who different property owners, especially in regards to the Chandler houses, to see when they might have been moved to this area. So we're looking at several different avenues on getting a better idea of the historical context moving forward. That's where we are at the moment. We're also going to be looking at structures that are not just residential, but also industrial, that represent the industrial history of this community. So we're getting a broader base look at what makes Canyon City, Canyon City.
I'm gonna have to be excused.
I have a quick question, Lisa. I've
Yeah.
been kind of out of the mix
No,
since the
that's okay.
beginning of the summer. When are you guys meeting?
So we normally been meeting on Friday afternoons about 2 p.m. at the museum.
And is that fairly regular, or have you?
Pretty regular.
Okay.
And there's some of them that break out and do tours of neighborhoods just to get a feel of the different architectural styles within the Old Canyon City neighborhood and South Canyon, right at the moment.
Okay.
We'll probably be branching out at some point to East Canyon area.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the Education and Outreach Subcommittee, we've drafted some potential approaches. We've tried to get together a couple of times, but that hasn't worked out. So we need to kind of coordinate schedules and see if we can get together to review this material. And we could do that today or after the meeting, whatever works. Probably after the meeting would be most sensible.
And this is, there was an email with, I think, 4 files on it with a lot of information. And all that is from the Education Outreach Subcommittee, right?
Yeah, again, it's been drafted but not discussed fully by the subcommittee.
Okay.
In regards to the subcommittee for the education outreach, I know there are more than 3 commission members that are serving on that subcommittee. So anytime that subcommittee is meeting with all 3 commission members, we need to make sure that that is publicly announced.
Okay.
Yep.
Rochelle was one of those members.
Yeah, and she is still interested in volunteering.
Okay. Awesome.
As she wants to be kept abreast of any meetings and events regarding that subcommittee.
Okay. So if we want to talk about schedules and try to figure out when to do that after the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be
I
fine.
think that'd work best. Is anything you want to go over from the information that was compiled so far?
No, I think it's appropriate for the subcommittee to review it and discuss it and come up with a recommendation to the commission.
Okay. So I guess we'll move on to agenda item 6, discussion, review of certificate of alteration application form.
So I sent out a draft with the recommended changes from the last meeting that we had to include sort of a running outline of questions, yes, no, quick and easy ones that they could answer regarding whatever project they're working on in altering their historic structure. One of the questions that came up at the last meeting was in regards to what is in the city's ordinance requiring buildings that are listed as non-contributing to historic downtown district. That was, I guess, some concern. I did reach out to History Colorado and the Director of Preservation regarding if we did decide to go and change and amend the ordinance, would that put our CLG status in jeopardy? And the email I received back from them was it wouldn't jeopardize the status provided any amendment still adhered to the federal requirements for the CLG. We wouldn't discertify if the section isn't in question were removed, although they do caution, it seems that the intent was to ensure that new non-contributing buildings do not erode the sense of place of a historic district.
Lisa, I'm sorry, where was that you emailed, where was that response from?
I emailed that, I got that response from the Director of Preservation Initiatives, the SHPO office, the Colorado Historic Preservation Office.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And that was dealing with Part G of the ordinance?
So,
correct?
yeah. Section G, or actually, Section 1230-110, alteration certificate required, G, line G, I should say.
And so our question was dealing with only reviewing designated buildings.
Contributing or properties listed on the local, state, or national.
Right.
And this could be a discussion for another time in regards to amending an ordinance and recommendations for amending the ordinance to the city council. The application form could stand as is, and with your approval, and at a later date, we could address ordinance changes. If that's still a concern of the commission.
So our possible approach would be to go ahead and approve or act on the alteration application form, and then decide later if we need to address the non-contributing buildings.
Yes.
So that would give us an opportunity to get this in place in case there is a need to have it available.
Yes. And that is a possibility.
Can we designate it as an interim and put a fuse on it so that we would need to update that within a certain period of time? Or do we just need to go ahead and adopt something and then change it as we choose in the future?
I think you could do the second option,
Okay.
yeah, just and change it in the future if that becomes a concern.
How many non-contributing buildings are there downtown? I'm trying to remember,
Oh,
roughly.
that's a good question. I'll have to look that up
Yeah.
again.
So as the ordinance is written, someone applying for a building permit
Mhm.
to do something to their non-contributing building, would it flag and come to us for
Right at the
review
moment, we have not put that as a flag yet. Because initially, we were under the guidance, okay, contributing first, local, state, and national designated properties would definitely get flagged. The non-contributing was sort of a, yeah, we need to do this. We'll probably have to add that to the list that gets flagged momentarily. It won't happen overnight.
Well, I guess what would the pros and cons to having non-contributing buildings flagged for our review be?
So one of the thoughts that comes to mind is, especially for the historic downtown district, there are some properties that were, during that survey, the latest survey was done in 2004, 2005, some properties that were listed as non-contributing, one being the Fremont County National Bank building, because of the facade that was covering over the original facade. In doing alterations to that building, this is hypothetical, of course, if they're wanting to change the neo-mansard roof or tear down the building, they could have lost that opportunity, the historic structure underneath it. Another one that comes to mind is in the 600 block. I believe in 2004, 2005, it had a metal facade over the top of the doorway and windows, and that has since been removed as well. So doing a resurvey of historic downtown could probably put that as a contributing building now, along with the Fremont County National Bank building. So if they had applied for a permit to alter their facade between that interim period when that was last surveyed and any future survey that's done of downtown, it would have been coming up as non-contributing, but in reality, it might have, with a new survey being done, it could be contributing now. So you don't want to lose that possibility of a historic resource.
Gotcha.
There could be other buildings too, but those are the ones that came to mind.
Are there any other comments or discussion about the rest of the application?
I
Please.
think it works pretty, sorry, Cindy. were
No,
you-
go ahead, Chris.
That it works pretty well for what we're trying to accomplish. I do think it's important that we address the non-contributing as quickly as possible, just in the fact that if they're not brought into the fold of the discussion, they could go right, through the whole process. And, Fremont National Bank is the prime example that I can think of, and thankfully, they're, bringing that back to life. But
Yeah.
others might not even be on their radar. So if all we do is bring them into the discussion and say, if you consider bringing this back to a, more of a historic building, then there are some great possibilities to not only, improve our historic district, but also, there are opportunities to apply for grants and tax trade-offs if they can apply for those. Just bringing them into this discussion is, and I don't think we can enforce anything on them, and I don't know that that's going to be our goal here. It's, hey, look, there's some great possibilities here. So, that being said, I think what we have in front of us, we need to get in the books right away, but we shouldn't lose sight of doing the non-conforming as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Lisa, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, for somebody that's not in this world, it was pretty explanatory to me, I thought.
Okay.
I was questioning on page 1 into the scope of work questionnaire. Was kind of confused at the second to last sentence. Final review and action on the application for the certificate of alteration by the Canyon City Historic Preservation Committee at a property scheduled.
Oh.
Is that supposed to be,
At a scheduled public hearing.
okay,
That's an easy fix.
So we just want to get rid of the word property. Yeah.
I read right past it 3 times.
Yeah.
Still didn't see it.
Good eye.
language, not my language.
It's very small. Good eye. The other part of this too, and I have it underneath, is a potential application fee. This does follow the same procedure of a public hearing and publishing public notices in the newspaper. So advertising, making sure that that follows the same procedure as if we were nominating a property to the local historic registry. So there'll be cost incurred as part of this as well.
Do we need to make a determination on cost today?
You don't have to. If this is
Do
the
we have an
application,
approximation of what the cost is?
it'll probably be about the same as the one, $60. We'll have at least 3 times that will have to go up, public notice put in the paper.
So a total of $60, or?
That's what we have for the other application form, is $60.
And that would include the advertisement, the $60.
Yeah, so the money that we get from the application fee will go towards paying for those advertising for those public notices.
Well, do we want to vote on a fee now, or is that something we want to
We can,
discuss a
yeah,
little bit more?
yeah, you can add it later if you wanted to.
I think we should put the fee in right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve our certificate of alteration application with the minor correction. And an application fee of $60.
Can we lump that all into one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you can do that.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Cindy is a yes. Carol?
Me, yes?
All right, motion's approved.
One thing I'd like to raise in relation to this is the schedule, the scheduling of review. And I don't think it needs to be a big formal process, but it would be good to get some sense of routine City of Canyon City review timing and how that works and how it's coordinated between departments, and then how what we're doing fits in, so that we can align with whatever established review coordination processes are in place, so that this doesn't stretch things out for applicants.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
And again, it would, I guess what maybe we could request is the city departments, provide some kind of idea of what their review process and timing is, and suggest how our requirements can, fit into that cycle.
Yeah, we'll be working directly with the building department. Once a property does get flagged, developing a schedule, meetings with the owners that are wanting to apply for a permit, and their property does get flagged for this thing, working out a schedule. I'll be talking with them probably regularly.
Yeah, that's on a case-by-case basis, and that's certainly appropriate. What I'm referring to, though, is a more generic, I'm sure that the city has a schedule for different aspects of a review, and just trying to make sure that we have visibility of that and understand how it, maybe on the third Thursday or something, how that works, so that we can align what we're doing, with those routine schedules.
And there's always that possibility too, in terms of timing, having a special meeting set, depending on when we receive an application in coordination with a permit application. If that comes up and we'd have to do it at a special hearing, we can certainly do that.
That would be a reason to have a special meeting.
Yep.
But again, if we understand the overall schedule that the city follows, chances are we could align ours so that we don't have to rely on special meetings to, patch over something. We can just do it on a more routine fashion.
Yeah, and any information about their process and
Yeah.
timing would be helpful. We just don't want to get in the way of any sort of progress or process.
Yeah.
Or add additional hurdles or barriers or delays that don't fit with, other aspects of that. And again, in terms of how it goes through the various hearing steps that it has to go through, we don't want to make it any more complicated than it already is.
Right.
I would like to make a suggestion in that they include it in the routing sheet that the building department provides,
Yeah.
because I think we need to be part of the early on discussion, especially if we can get in before they hire architects or as they're talking to their architects, because we don't want them to show up with everything finished and basically we're just rubber stamping, what they had. If we want to include some input or some suggestions, we've got to catch them at that early stage. And I know that the city requires you to do a routing, sheet and some verbiage that says, if you're within a historic district or if you are working on an historic structure, it's recommended that you meet with this committee as early as possible. And obviously, we're not trying to slow it down, but we want to have this input before they hire a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 architect and go through that whole process. And then what do we
Turns out
say
they
then?
can't do it. Yeah.
What do we say then? So if we can be in the discussion as early as possible, I think
Yeah.
we're going to have much greater input in what they do with the project. And that's our whole objective, I think, is to, you know, be able to at least encourage them to preserve, you know, a lot of these historic structures. So that's my recommendation, is that we try to get in on that routing slip and just, you know, make them aware that if you can get in and talk to this committee early, it will make the process go very smoothly later.
And I can talk to the head of the building department and even invite her to talk about the process at our next meeting, if that's what you would like.
I think that's a good idea.
Perhaps we could do that in a work session, a work study session, so it's not quite as formal, so that we can have a, you know, more of a discussion.
Yeah, if that's, yep, that's fine.
I like putting her on the hot seat, though. But I think that's a better way to go.
Schedule-wise, yeah, I'll reach out to her and make sure that what members of the commission would be available to meet and do that and have that publicly announced
Yeah.
as well.
All right, with that, I'll open the meeting up for public comment or announcements.
I do have a few announcements. Upcoming webinars that I've been made aware of. Wednesday, September the 15th, there'll be a CLG webinar on cell towers. The following webinar will be on September 22nd from noon to 1 p.m. And that is a design review critique. That's the same day that we'll have set our next meeting. And we did receive an application for a nomination for a local historic designation. So we'll probably have a public hearing meeting at the next meeting.
All right, any other further comment or discussion? If there's no further business, I'll now adjourn this meeting.